Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We have a new book to discuss, and this week's book is The Lego Story by Jens Andersen. I did have to look up how to pronounce that name. It's spelled like Jens, but it's Jens. And I'll tell you this book has got me pronouncing things weirdly because of all the Danish in it. Regardless, this is, as the name implies, the Lego story, but also, I guess, the story of the Christensen family and also the city of Billund, Denmark. I should probably preface by saying that this story is a bit hard to follow because everyone has the same or similar names, and so I didn't really keep track quite so closely on whom is whom at any period in time, but also this book covers 90 years of Lego history, so there's 5 generations worth of Christensens in there. Regardless, the first guy learned woodworking through an apprenticeship and started picking up more jobs, a lot of which were more construction work, some like furniture. He ended up starting a company to build wooden toys using that experience, and they found a modest amount of success, and he continued making those toys for quite a number of years. It was many, many years later when they first had the thought to delve into injected molded plastics as toys. It was seen as quite a risk, as some people considered it to just be a fad, or just that they were much lower quality than the wooden toys of the day. It started with just making plastic toys in the same vein as they made wooden toys. They weren't specific Legos yet, although the company was called Lego at the time. It means something. I don't remember what. They decided to start making bricks after a British company started making bricks similar to the Lego bricks, although they didn't find much success. Lego believed that they were able to adapt that idea and make it much higher quality and make it better suited for playing with children. Back in the day, there was not so much Back in the day, it was very commonplace for toy manufacturers to copy one another, and there wasn't much in the way of intellectual property protection. It was kind of assumed in the toy industry that everyone was going to copy each other. Also, mind you, that back then, these companies were not very big and would not typically sell outside of their country. In fact, Lego had experienced difficulty with selling outside the country due to trade restrictions due from the World War II, as well as the Cold War with getting toys across the Iron Curtain. But that comes a bit later. I probably won't touch on it. Anyway, Lego decides to make their Lego System and Play, which is their traditional brick platform, and it was quite popular. Lego started to grow in popularity, and it was pretty interesting hearing about how the city of Billund also grew along with Lego. They built up a lot of the city's infrastructure, including the founder was very adamant about getting an airport built, and the company paid for that. This was in the earlier days of aviation, where it was not a common thing to have an airport. In fact, this was the only one remotely near the city. Over time, the Lego System and Play was expanded to include new things. One of the big ones was the minifigures. Then further on, they decided to design more instructional sets. In the earlier days, it was more meant to be an open-ended, creative process to build what you want, as opposed to how we have now, where it's sets that you followed the instructions step by step. Another interesting segment was the talk of Legoland. I actually went to Legoland in Germany when I was just a wee lad, but I didn't really understand it. I was quite the wee lad. The company started Legoland as a park near their factory in Bieland because they would often have people just show up to Bieland and ask to see the factory because they're a fan of the company, and naturally they would show them around the factory. It became too burdensome to show them the factory each time, not to mention dangerous, so they decided to build a park where they could show all of the history of Lego and all their past sets. A turning point happened with Lego in the late 90s when they struck a deal with Lucasfilm to make specific sets for the prequel trilogy, and as those were releasing at the time, they also included sets from the original trilogy. This proved to be very profitable for Lego, and in fact they had quite some financial trouble in 2004, but were greatly helped out by the release of Revenge of the Sith coming out in 2005 that really boosted the sales of these Star Wars sets. Also around that time they released the Lego Star Wars game, one that I was a big fan of, and then it goes further into the modern Lego where they're much more heavily invested with licensing other IPs. There's a bunch of other stuff about inheritance drama with the 2010s. That wasn't as exciting. But yeah, this book was pretty interesting to listen to. In fact, I did a lot of Lego building while listening to this. That made it quite exciting. The set I'm currently building is the BD-1 set from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Haven't finished it yet, but it's a good time. So I'd say overall I enjoyed this story. A little hard to follow all the people, but as only one or two generations of people is prominent in the story at a time, so it kind of just melds together and isn't too big of an issue. But I really enjoyed it. So with all that said, I would give this book 4 stars out of 5. It was pretty good. It was a little hard to follow at times, but I enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I'm happy to announce that our next book will be a mystery book by Agatha Christie, so get excited for that one.